I was 17 when I overheard my parents' toast to my worthlessness. The crystal glasses clinked as my mother's words drifted up the stairs. She's too meek to make anything of herself anyway. My name is Kinley, and that night changed everything. I'd spent 2 years working at the local coffee shop, saving every penny for college. My application to Cornell's finance program sat completed on my desk upstairs, while my parents celebrated my brother Prince's latest genius startup idea in the dining room below. To our future millionaire, Dad's voice boomed. This app will revolutionize how people order takeout. I pressed my back against the wall, stomach churning. Just yesterday, Mom had sat me down for another one of her realistic discussions about your future. Honey, she'd said, adjusting her pearl necklace, you're a pretty girl. Maybe focus less on all these advanced classes and more on finding a nice, wealthy boy to marry. I'd pushed my calculator aside, trying to hide my AP calculus homework. Mom, I have a 4.2 GPA. I can get into any business school I want. Of course you can, sweetie. She patted my hand. But let's be practical. Your brother needs investors for his new venture. He has real potential. Now, listening to their celebration downstairs, something clicked. I crept down to my father's office, hands shaking as I logged into the family computer. 3 clicks later, I stared at our joint bank account, the one where my college fund was supposed to be growing. Balance $127.34. No, I whispered, scrolling through the transaction history. There it was, a transfer of $47,000 to Prince's business account, dated 2 days ago. My entire college fund gone. The next morning, I confronted them over breakfast. Prince was sprawled on the couch, hungover from celebrating. You took my money? My voice cracked. Everything I saved? Mom didn't even look up from her phone. We're investing in the family's future, Kinley. Your brother's app could make us all rich. That was my money. I worked for it. Dad slammed his coffee mug down. Watch your tone, young lady. This is a family decision. Prince has a real shot here. What about my shot? I could barely breathe. What about Cornell? Oh, please, Prince mumbled from the couch. Like you'd survive at Cornell anyway. This is business, sis. You wouldn't understand. I turned to Mom, hoping to see some recognition, some guilt. Instead, she smiled that patronizing smile I'd grown to hate. Honey, maybe this is a sign. You could take some classes at community college, meet a nice boy. Stop telling me to marry rich, I shouted, surprising even myself. I want to earn my own money. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Dad's voice turned cold. Your brother has vision. You just follow rules and keep your head down. Sometimes I wonder if you have any ambition at all. I stormed upstairs, grabbed my old diary, and started writing. Not about my feelings. I was done with that. Instead, I wrote down every detail of what they'd done, every dismissal, every time they'd chosen Prince over me, every dollar they'd stolen. That night, I heard them in the kitchen again. Mom was laughing. At least she's finally showing some spirit, but don't worry, she'll calm down. She always does. She's just jealous of Prince's potential, Dad replied. She'll thank us when the app takes off. I added their words to my diary, which was quickly becoming something else, a ledger of debts, a blueprint for survival, and maybe, someday, something more. 3 months later, Prince's revolutionary app failed to launch. Turns out 17 other companies already offered the same service. My money vanished into his business expenses, designer clothes, and drinks for potential investors at high end clubs. Mom found me packing my duffel bag. Don't be dramatic, Kinley. Family supports family. I zipped the bag shut. You're right, Mom. Family does support family. I'll remember that. She smiled, relieved I was being reasonable again. She had no idea I'd just made a vow to become everything they thought I couldn't be, to build something they couldn't touch, to wait and watch, and one day show them exactly what their meek daughter was capable of. I walked out with my duffel bag and 127 or 34 in my account. But I also carried something else, a burning certainty that someday they'd regret underestimating me. They just didn't know it yet. My first apartment was a basement studio that flooded every time it rained. But it was mine, paid for with tips from waiting tables and overnight shifts at a 24-hour diner. You're crazy to work this much, my coworker Morgan said one night as we counted tips. 3 jobs plus online classes? You'll burn out. I stacked my quarters methodically. Not an option. Have you talked to your parents since? They send texts sometimes. We miss you. Come home. Prince has a new business idea. I laughed without humor, blocked them all. Morgan became my lifeline during those years. She'd bring me coffee during my library study sessions, proofread my papers, and never once suggested I give up. One night, scrolling through social media, I saw my mother's post. So proud of our entrepreneur son, celebrating his new tech venture with a new Mercedes. I showed Morgan the photo of my parents posing with Prince beside a gleaming car. They refinanced the house for this. Dad's retirement fund. Gone. But hey, at least Prince looks good in the driver's seat. Your brother's like a black hole for money, Morgan muttered. How many businesses has he crashed now? 3. I turned back to my financial analysis homework. But who's counting? Months turned into years. I graduated with my online degree in finance magna cum laude. No family in the audience, just Morgan cheering loud enough for 10 people. My first real job came through one of my regular customers at the diner, a junior analyst position at his investment firm. I kept waiting tables on weekends, living well below my means. Every spare dollar went into investments carefully researched and monitored. Your daughter's doing well, I overheard our old neighbor Deborah telling my mother at the grocery store. I ducked behind a display, heart pounding. Oh? Mom's voice was carefully neutral. We wouldn't know. She's too busy for family these days. She's some kind of financial whiz now. My nephew works at the same firm. Well, Mom interrupted, Prince is about to launch a cryptocurrency platform. Very exclusive. We're all very excited. I gripped my shopping basket tighter, remembering the foreclosure notice I'd spotted in the public records. They'd refinanced the house again, betting everything on Prince's latest scheme. That night, I called Morgan. They're going to lose everything. Good, she said firmly. They deserve it. It's not enough. I opened my laptop, pulling up my investment portfolio. I want them to know exactly who's holding the cards when they fall. Kinley? Morgan's voice softened. Are you sure? Revenge takes a lot of energy. They took my future and gave it to Prince, told me to marry rich because I was too meek to succeed. I looked at my bank balance, the result of years of careful planning. I'm not that girl anymore. The next day at work, I met our new team member, Gus. He caught me researching property laws during lunch. Planning to buy a house? He asked, peering at my screen. I quickly switched tabs. Just keeping up with the market. You know what they say about revenge properties, he said casually, making me freeze. They cost more than the purchase price. I met his eyes. Sometimes the cost is worth it. That afternoon, I got the alert. My parents' house was officially in pre foreclosure. Prince's cryptocurrency platform had collapsed spectacularly, taking their last resources with it. I called Aaron, a real estate broker I'd met through work. I need to buy a house quietly. Through an LLC, maybe? The owners can't know who's buying. Interesting request from someone so young, he said. Any particular reason? Let's just say I'm investing in karma. That night, I drove past my childhood home. The Mercedes was gone, replaced by a beat up Honda. The garden Mom had been so proud of was overgrown. Through the window, I could see them all in the kitchen, probably discussing Prince's next brilliant idea. My phone buzzed with a text from Morgan. You sure about this? I watched my father gesture angrily, my mother dab at her eyes, Prince slouch against the counter. They looked smaller somehow, vulnerable, perfect. Yes, I texted back. Time to show them exactly who their meek daughter became. I pulled away from the curb, already drafting the purchase offer in my head. They thought they'd written my story. The quiet daughter who'd marry rich and fade into the background. They had no idea I'd been writing a different ending all along, and soon, very soon, they'd have to read every word of it. Aaron spread the documents across his desk. Your parents refinanced this house 7 times in 5 years, each time to fund your brother's ventures. He whistled. That's either dedication or delusion. Both. I studied the paperwork. And the foreclosure auction? Next week. But Kinley? He leaned forward. Are you sure about using an LLC? You could get a better deal bidding directly. They can't know it's me. Not yet. Back at work, Gus caught me reviewing the auction details. Still house hunting? Something like that. I minimized the window. You know, He settled on the edge of my desk. I once knew someone who spent years planning the perfect revenge. Want to know how it ended? Not particularly. She won, got everything she wanted. He paused. Lost herself in the process. I met his gaze. I'm not losing anything. I'm collecting a debt. The auction day arrived cold and gray. I sat in the back, laptop open, Morgan beside me for moral support. My parents weren't there, probably too ashamed to watch their home sold off. Starting bid is $375,000, the auctioneer announced. I kept my face neutral as the bidding began. Three other buyers showed interest, but none had my motivation or my research. I knew exactly how much the property was worth. $425,000, called a man in a suit. I nodded to Aaron, who raised his paddle. $450,000? The suit hesitated, then $460,000. 500,000, Aaron countered smoothly. Silence fell. The auctioneer's gavel struck. Sold to Valley View Properties, LLC. Morgan squeezed my hand. You did it. Not yet. I watched Aaron handle the paperwork. This is just the beginning. That evening, I drove to the house. The porch light was on. They were still living there, probably scrambling to figure out who bought their home. I stood in the shadows, remembering all the times I'd sat on these steps, dreaming of escape. My phone buzzed, a text from Prince. Hey sis, long time? Need a favor? Call me? I deleted it without responding. The next day, Gus cornered me in the break room. Congratulations on your purchase. I nearly dropped my coffee. How did you? I have a friend at the auction house. He handed me a napkin. Valley View Properties? Subtle. Are you going to tell anyone? No. He studied me. But I recognize that look in your eyes. I've seen it before. In that friend of yours who lost herself? In the mirror. He tossed his cup in the trash. Just remember, revenge is a meal best served cold, not bitter. I ignored him, focusing on the next phase. Aaron helped me draft the perfect letter, formal, impersonal, informing the current residents of their new landlord's terms. They have to know something's wrong, Morgan said as we reviewed the letter. No family photos allowed on walls, no permanent changes to any room. I want them to feel like guests in their own home. I signed the document, like I did for 18 years. A week later, I watched from my car as they read the letter. Mom was crying on the porch, Dad pacing, Prince arguing with both of them. Finally, they went inside, defeated. That night, I let myself in with my new keys. They were asleep upstairs, in my house now. I walked through the rooms, touching walls that held so many painful memories. In Dad's old office, I found Prince's business plans scattered across the desk. Revolutionary AI dating platform, the header read. Below it, a note in my mother's handwriting. Maybe Kinley could invest. She has a good job now. I took a photo of the note, adding it to my evidence file. My old bedroom was exactly as I'd left it. They'd never bothered to change it. The dent in the wall where I'd punched it after discovering my empty bank account. The college pennants I'd collected, now dusty and forgotten. Someone's here, Prince's voice carried from downstairs. I slipped out the back door just as lights flicked on above. From the safety of my car, I watched them search the house, jumping at shadows. Good. Let them feel unsafe. Uncertain. Like everything could be taken away at any moment. My phone lit up with a text from Gus. Free for coffee tomorrow? Think you should hear my whole story. I started the car, watching my family's silhouettes move behind the curtains of my house. Thanks, but I'm busy writing my own. The engine purred to life as I pulled away. In my rearview mirror, I saw Mom step onto the porch, peering into the darkness, looking for answers she wasn't ready to find. Soon, I thought. Very soon. The knock came at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. I wasn't expecting anyone, but somehow I knew exactly who it would be. Surprise! Mom's forced cheerfulness filled my apartment doorway. Behind her, Dad looked uncomfortable in his wrinkled suit, and Prince slouched against the wall, playing with his phone. What are you doing here? I kept my hand on the door, ready to close it. Can't we visit our daughter? Mom pushed past me, her designer bag notably scuffed. We've missed you so much. For 3 years? I watched them file in, taking inventory. Mom's roots needed touching up. Dad's watch was missing. Prince wore last season's clothes. Nice place, Prince said, but his tone meant the opposite. Kind of small, though. Mom perched on my sofa like she was afraid it might stain her pants. Honey, we need to talk about something important. The foreclosure? I kept my voice neutral. I saw it in the papers. You knew? Dad's face reddened. And you didn't reach out? Like you reached out when you took my college fund? Mom waved her hand dismissively. Ancient history. We're family, Kinley. Family helps family. We need a place to stay, Prince cut in, just temporarily, until my new AI platform takes off. I sat across from them, savoring the moment. What happened to the house? Some heartless corporation bought it, Dad growled. Won't even tell us who they are, probably going to flip it for profit. That's terrible. I sipped my tea. And you came here because. Because you're our daughter. Mom's eyes welled up. We know your place is small, but surely you can make room. No. The silence was delicious. What do you mean? No. Prince stood up. You've got space. Your family. Family supports family. I echoed Mom's words from years ago. But I have a better idea. They leaned forward eagerly. The house you lost? I know the buyer's agent. I could talk to them, see if you could rent it back. Temporarily. Mom's tears vanished. You could do that? For a reasonable rent, of course. I pulled out my phone. Let me call them now. I stepped into my bedroom, pretending to make a call. Through the door, I heard them whispering excitedly. See? Mom hissed. I told you she'd help. Maybe she's not so useless after all, Dad muttered. I returned, smiling. Good news. The owner agrees. You can move back in tomorrow. Tomorrow? Prince scoffed. Just like that? Just like that. But there are conditions. I handed them the rental agreement I'd prepared weeks ago. No alterations to the house, no family photos on walls, no permanent changes. These terms are ridiculous, Dad started reading. And this rent is well below market value, I finished. Take it or leave it. Mom grabbed the papers before he could object. We'll take it. Oh, sweetie, you're an angel. One more thing. I met each of their eyes. This is business. I'm not your daughter in this transaction. I'm just the messenger. Of course, Mom was already signing. We understand. The next day, I watched through my office window as they moved back in. Aaron handed them the keys, playing his part perfectly. You're playing with fire, Gus said, appearing beside my desk. I saw your family moving into their old house. Your house. You following me now? Looking out for you. There's still time to stop this. I turned to face him. Why do you care so much? Because I see myself in you. The same cold determination, the same careful planning. He sat down. I spent years destroying my stepfather's life after what he did to my mother. Won every battle. Want to know what it cost me? I didn't ask for your life story. No, but you might need it. He stood up. Coffee offer still stands. That evening, I drove past the house again. They'd ordered takeout, gathered around my dining room table like nothing had changed. Prince was probably pitching his latest scheme. Mom would be nodding enthusiastically. Dad would be writing another check he couldn't afford. But everything had changed. They just didn't know it yet. My phone buzzed, a text from Morgan. How's it feel to be their landlord? I watched Mom laugh at something Prince said. Dad clap him on the shoulder. The same old dynamic playing out in my house under my rules. Like the first domino just fell, I texted back. Now we wait for gravity to do its work. Through the window, I saw Prince pull out his laptop, probably showing off his AI platform pitch deck. Mom and Dad leaned in, hungry for another chance at the success they'd sacrificed everything for, including me. I started my car, smiling. Let them hope, let them dream, let them think they'd found safe harbor. The storm hadn't even started yet. The rent's late. I stood in their doorway, my doorway, holding the overdue notice. Third time this month. Prince's investors are just finalizing some details, Mom stammered. We'll have it next week. That's not how this works. I handed her a formal warning. The owner expects payment on time. Can't you talk to them? She grabbed my arm. Make them understand. I stepped back. Business is business, remember? 2 weeks later, I installed new locks on all exterior doors. When Prince called to complain he couldn't get in through the back entrance anymore, I cited security protocols. This is ridiculous, he shouted. We've lived here for 20 years. And now you're tenants. Tenants use the front door. I started showing up for random inspections. Each time, Mom would hover nervously as I took photos of every room, documenting their compliance with the lease terms. Why did they remove all our family photos? I heard her ask Dad one evening as I checked the basement. It's like they're trying to erase us. Something's not right, Dad muttered. No landlord acts like this. I made a show of writing in my inspection notebook, watching them squirm. Prince tried playing detective, calling real estate offices to identify the mysterious owner. Each time, he hit a wall of corporate paperwork and LLC registrations. Maybe if we offer to buy it back, Mom suggested during my next inspection, we could get a loan. With what credit? I checked another box on my form. The owner's not interested in selling. How do you know? Prince demanded. Have you even asked them? I smiled. I know exactly what the owner wants. That night, Gus finally convinced me to get that coffee. We sat in a quiet corner of the cafe near our office. You're enjoying this too much, he said, stirring his Americano. Trust me, that's when mistakes happen. I'm not making mistakes, I'm making a point. The point that you're just like them? Manipulative? Cold? I set my cup down hard. I'm nothing like them. No? He leaned forward. Then why do this slow torture? Why not just evict them outright? Because I want them to feel it. Every day. Every moment. My hands shook slightly. Like I did. The next morning, I had Aaron deliver a notice about property improvements. All personal items had to be stored during renovations, including Mom's precious china cabinet. But it's been in the family for generations, she protested when I arrived for inspection. The lease was clear about fixtures and furnishings. I took a photo of the cabinet. It needs to be moved by Friday. This is harassment, Dad exploded. We'll report this to the housing authority. Feel free. I checked my watch. The owner has excellent lawyers. That weekend, I watched from my car as they carefully wrapped Mom's china. Each piece they packed was another crack in their facade of control. Prince stormed out halfway through, slamming the door. This is insane. Someone's messing with us deliberately. Keep your voice down, Mom hissed, glancing nervously at the neighbors. I drove home and poured myself a glass of wine, opening my laptop to the folder labeled Family Business. Inside were years of documented betrayals, financial records, text messages, evidence of every time they'd chosen Prince over me. My phone buzzed. Morgan, ready for the final act? Before I could respond, another message came through. From Gus. Whatever you're planning, remember, you can't take it back. I closed my laptop and walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow was the monthly tenant dinner, my latest requirement. They had to host me, their liaison to the mysterious owner, for a formal meal every month. I touched the envelope in my bag, the one I'd been waiting to deliver. Inside was the document that would change everything. My phone buzzed again. Mom, dinner tomorrow at 7. I'm making your favorite, though I suppose I shouldn't call it that anymore. We're just tenants after all. The guilt trip was so obvious it almost made me laugh. Almost. I typed back, 7 p.m., don't forget. No family photos on display during tenant dinners. Setting my phone down, I practiced my expression in the mirror. The perfect blend of professional detachment and hidden satisfaction. Tomorrow they'd finally learn who really owned their precious house. Tomorrow they'd understand exactly what their meek, unmarried daughter had become. Tomorrow karma would serve the main course. I raised my wine glass to my reflection. To family business, I whispered and smiled. The table was set with Mom's best china, what remained of it after the forced move. The irony wasn't lost on me as I took my seat, envelope heavy in my blazer pocket. Wine? Mom's hands trembled slightly as she poured. Just water, I smiled. Need to keep a clear head for business. Prince slouched in his chair, tapping his phone. Can we hurry this up? I have a meeting with investors. Put the phone away, Dad snapped. We need to make a good impression. I watched them perform their familiar roles one last time. Mom fussing over the food, Dad trying to maintain control, Prince acting entitled. a lifetime of patterns about to shatter. Before we eat, I pulled out the envelope. The owner asked me to deliver this. Mom reached for it, but I held it back. Actually, I think we should all hear this together. I opened the envelope slowly, savoring each crinkle of paper. Notice of immediate tenancy termination, I read. You have 30 days to vacate the property. The explosion was immediate. They can't do this! Dad slammed his fist on the table. Wine glasses rattled. We have rights! Prince stood up, face red. I'll sue! Mom started crying, right on cue. Please, Kinley, talk to them. Make them understand. Oh, the owner understands perfectly. I placed the document on the table, sliding it towards them. Maybe you should read who signed it. Their eyes moved down the page. I watched realization hit them one by one. This this has your signature, Mom whispered. Property of Valley View LLC, Dad read, voice shaking. Owner, Kinley Zimmerman. Prince lunged across the table, sending plates crashing. You? You did this to us? Sit down. My voice could have frozen hell, unless you want to add assault to your list of failures. How could you? Mom's mascara ran down her cheeks. We're your family. Family? I laughed. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about my college fund that went to Prince's failed takeout app, or the time you told me to marry rich because I was too meek to succeed on my own. We were trying to protect you. Dad stood up, looming over me. Protect me? By stealing my money? By crushing every dream I had? I pulled out my phone, playing a recording. She's too meek to make anything of herself anyway. Mom's voice from that night years ago. You recorded us? Prince sneered. How pathetic. Not as pathetic as 5 failed businesses funded by your parents' retirement. I turned to Dad. How's that working out for you? The doorbell rang. Perfect timing. Come in, I called out. Deborah, our old neighbor, walked in. She stopped short at the scene. Broken plates, Mom crying, Dad purple with rage. I I can come back. No, stay. I gestured to an empty chair. You should hear this too. Tell them what you told me about Grandma's inheritance. Mom went pale. Deborah, don't. They stole that too, didn't they? I pressed. The money Grandma left specifically for my education. How much was it, Deborah? 100,000, she whispered. Your grandmother made me promise to watch out for you. I'm so sorry I didn't speak up sooner. Prince laughed nervously. Come on, sis. We can work something out. Like you worked out all your business deals? I stood up. The cryptocurrency scam, the AI platform that doesn't exist, how many more times were you planning to bleed them dry? Kinley, please. Mom reached for my hand. We can be a family again. I pulled away. We were never a family. I was just your backup plan, your safety net, the quiet daughter you could sacrifice whenever Prince needed bailing out. I'll fight this, Dad growled. I'll tell everyone what you did. Go ahead. I dropped a thick folder on the table. I have records of every illegal transfer, every lie, every manipulation. Want to test those stories in court? Silence fell, heavy, final. 30 days, I said, standing up. And don't bother leaving the china cabinet. It belongs to the house now. My house. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Mom? Remember when you said I should marry rich? I smiled. Turns out I didn't need to. I just needed you to underestimate me one last time. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click. Through the window, I saw them frozen around the ruined dinner table, their world collapsing in slow motion. My phone buzzed. Gus, is it done? Yes, I typed back, and I don't regret a single moment. But standing in the driveway, watching my family's silhouettes through the curtains, I felt something unexpected. Not guilt, not quite satisfaction either, something more like emptiness, waiting to be filled. The eviction hearing was set for a cold Tuesday morning. I sat in the courthouse hallway, watching my family huddle with their lawyer, some cut rate attorney Prince found on social media. Last chance to stop this, Gus said, sliding into the seat beside me. Why are you here? Because someone needs to witness what happens when karma and revenge have a baby. Mom kept trying to catch my eye, mouthing, please, every time I looked her way. Dad stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Prince paced, probably plotting his next scheme. All parties in Zimmerman versus Zimmerman, the clerk called. Inside the courtroom, their lawyer tried spinning a tale of family persecution. Your Honor, this is a vindictive daughter targeting her loving parents. Objection, my attorney interrupted. This is a straightforward eviction case. The defendants haven't paid rent in 2 months. Because it's our house, Prince shouted, jumping up. She stole it. The judge peered over her glasses. Sir, please sit down. Now, regarding the ownership, I have documentation, my lawyer said, passing forward a thick file. Bank records showing the legitimate purchase at auction. Also, evidence of the defendant's multiple refinancing schemes and misappropriation of inherited funds. Mom started crying again. Kinley, baby, please don't do this. Ms. Zimmerman, the judge addressed me, are you certain you want to proceed? I stood up. Yes, Your Honor. And I'd like to add something. Proceed. 7 years ago, I worked 3 jobs saving for college. My parents took that money from my brother's failed business. They told me to marry rich instead of pursuing my dreams. I met Mom's tear filled eyes. They said I was too meek to succeed. So I built my own success, bought my own house, their house, and now they're angry because I won't let them take that from me, too. You ungrateful. Dad started to rise, but his lawyer pulled him back. The judge reviewed the documents. The ownership is clear. The lease terms were violated. I have no choice but to grant the eviction. Defendants have 72 hours to vacate the property. Prince kicked his chair. This is bullshit. One more outburst, and you'll be held in contempt, the judge warned. Case closed. In the hallway, Mom made one last attempt. Where are we supposed to go? Maybe Prince can help, I suggested. He's got all those successful businesses, right? You've destroyed this family, Dad growled. No. I turned to face him. You did that years ago. I just finally showed you the bill. That night, Morgan came over with wine. So, how does victory taste? Like, I searched for the words, like something that's been in the freezer too long. Having regrets? No, just. I walked to the window. I thought I'd feel more. My phone buzzed. A text from Prince. You think you're so smart? Watch your back. This isn't over. I showed Morgan the message. See? They still haven't learned. Maybe that's not the point anymore. She topped off my glass. Maybe it's time to learn something yourself. The next morning, I drove to the house. A sheriff's deputy was posting the final notice as my family loaded boxes into their cars. Where will they go? Gus appeared beside me, making me jump. Seriously, are you stalking me now? Just making sure you see it through. He nodded toward the house. The whole show. The final act. Mom sat on the porch steps, clutching her purse. Dad supervised the loading with military precision. Prince was nowhere to be seen. He left last night, Mom said, noticing my look. Said he had investors waiting in Chicago. Of course he did. She stood up, straightening her wrinkled blouse. You know what the worst part is? Not losing the house, not even losing our savings. It's losing you, the real you, the daughter who used to bring me tea when I was sad, who helped me plant roses every spring. That daughter died the night you toasted to her worthlessness. No. Mom shook her head. She just turned into someone else, someone cold, someone like. She didn't finish the sentence, didn't have to. Someone like them. I watched them drive away, 3 cars headed in different directions. The deputy handed me the keys. Property's clear, he said. All yours now. I walked through the empty house. Their scents still lingered. Mom's perfume, Dad's cigars. In my old bedroom, a single photo remained taped inside the closet. Me at graduation, before everything fell apart. Smiling, hopeful, unbroken. My phone buzzed. Gus again. Coffee? I looked at the girl in the photo, then at my reflection in the window. 2 versions of myself, separated by years of careful planning and cold execution. Okay, I texted back. But you're buying. Maybe it was time to hear the rest of his story after all. So your stepfather? I said, stirring my coffee. What happened after you destroyed him? Gus leaned back in his chair. He lost everything. Job, house, reputation. I'd planned it for years, executed it perfectly. He smiled without humor. I won. And? And I realized winning wasn't the point. The point was breaking free. He pushed a newspaper across the table. Speaking of which, the headline caught my eye. Tech entrepreneur arrested in investment fraud scheme. Below it, Prince's mugshot. Chicago investors weren't impressed, Gus said. Filed charges immediately. I set the paper down. Not my problem anymore. No? He raised an eyebrow. Then why are you still sleeping in your office instead of that big empty house? Back at work, Morgan dropped by my desk. Your mom called the office again. Delete the message. She's living in a motel, Kinley. Your dad's staying with his brother in Ohio. Not my problem, I repeated, but the words felt hollow. That night, I finally forced myself to sleep in the house. My house. Every room echoed with memories, good and bad, love and betrayal, all tangled together. In my old bedroom, I found another hidden photo. Mom and me baking cookies. Dad teaching me to ride a bike. Prince before the failures and schemes, pushing me on a swing. My phone rang, an unknown number. Kinley? It was Deborah. Your mother's in the hospital. What happened? Stress, they think. She's asking for you. I gripped the phone tighter. I can't. Listen to me. Deborah cut in. Your grandmother made me promise to watch out for you. Now I'm promising her I'll watch out for all of you. This revenge, it's eating you alive, just like it ate your parents when they chose Prince over you. I hung up, but her words followed me through the empty house. In the kitchen, I found Mom's recipe box, forgotten in a drawer. Inside, a note fell out. For Kinley, all your favorites. Love, Mom. The date. 2 days before they took my college fund. My phone buzzed. Gus. The house you won? It's still your prison. I drove to the hospital. Mom looked small in the bed, her designer clothes replaced by a paper gown. Kinley? She blinked rapidly. I thought, I was just dreaming of when you were little. You used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. I remember. We ruined everything, didn't we? Tears rolled down her cheeks. Chose the wrong child to believe in, the wrong dreams to chase. You did. Can you ever forgive us? No. I sat down beside her. But maybe that's not the point anymore. The next day, I called Aaron. List the house. Market value. You sure? Property values are rising. Just do it. I walked through each room one last time, touching walls that held both warfare and warmth. In the garden, Mom's roses were dying. I picked one, pressed it into my diary, the one that had tracked my revenge for so long. Morgan found me packing up my office. Running away? No. I showed her the listing agreement. Breaking free. What about your parents? They made their choices. I closed my laptop. Now I'm making mine. At the coffee shop, Gus was waiting. Heard you listed the house. Keeping it means letting them still control me. Through memories, through hate, through the satisfaction of winning. I sipped my Americano. I'm done being controlled. And Prince? He'll face consequences I didn't arrange. That's karma's job, not mine. Mom was released from the hospital. I sent her a text. The house is being sold. Use your share of the proceeds wisely this time. She replied, Thank you, not for the money, for showing us who you really are. Strong, independent, everything we should have seen before. I didn't respond, but I saved the message. That evening, I stood on the porch one final time. The for sale sign caught the sunset, throwing long shadows across Mom's dying roses. My phone buzzed. Morgan. Want company? No, I texted back. I need to do this alone. I unlocked the door, walked to my old bedroom, and took down the hidden photos. Not to keep, to let go. Each one a weight lifting as I dropped them into the recycling bin. They took everything from me, so I took everything back. That was karma. But I've learned something else. You can burn their house down without making the ashes your home. I locked up, leaving the key under the mat for the realtor. In my car, Gus had sent one last message. Freedom looks good on you. For the first time since this all began, I smiled, really smiled, and drove away without looking back.